1832 Representation of the people. Positives. End of rotten boroughs. MC could now vote and more involved as local MPs. Electoral registers introduced. Catalyst for development of party organisation. Symbolic breach in system, undermined Lords. Higher representation of industrial areas. Fixed north-south imbalance. 50% average contested elections. Negatives. Pocket boroughs remained. 20% of men could vote. Most MPs still aristocracy, no salary for MPs. Landed classes still dominated, no secret ballot. 31 boroughs, fewer than 300 votes. Rural South still overrepresented. Franchise still based on property ownership. 1928 Representation of the People Act. Positives. Women now had majority of electorate. Electorate increased to 27 million. Labour Party took office for the first time in 1924. Passed comfortably in Commons by 387 votes to 10, becoming in law the Representation of the People Act. Within 10 years, women went from completely unenfranchised to a majority position in the electorate, with 14.5 million voters to 12.5 million men. Negatives. In 1927, opponents of equal suffrage mounted one last attempt to prevent reform. Daily Mail published several articles claiming reform meant giving the vote to flappers. The paper portrayed these women as young, single, sexually active and politically ignorant. Those who opposed also claimed that the extension would create a majority of women voters who would bring about feminization of political culture. 1867 Act. Positives. Doubled electorate to 2 million. 1 in 3 adult males could vote. Transformation of party political organisation. Gorst's Central Office and National Liberal Federation of 1883. Led to the 1872 Secret Ballot and Corrupt and Illegal Practices Act. Negatives. Franchise still based on property. Rural poor still no vote and over-rep of rural areas. Residuum still had no vote. No universal suffrage. No secret ballot. Landowners continued to dominate Parliament.
1858 Abolition of MP's property qualification. The positives were that it was the first of the Chartist demands agreed and acknowledged. 300,000 voters on an electoral register. MPs no longer had to own property. However, the absence of salaries meant it was virtually impossible for someone without a private income to become an MP, and it had minimal impact in the House of Commons. 1785 Failure of Pitt's proposals. Rejection led to the LCS forming in 1792, led by Thomas Hardy, calling for universal manhood suffrage. However, the reform issue died down until after the French War in 1815, and it was opposed by a majority in Parliament. Even George III opposed it. 1867 Act. Doubled electorate to 2 million. 1 in 3 adult males could vote. There was a transformation of 1872 Secret Ballot Act. Less rowdy, violent elections. Reduction in power of aristocracy by 1906. Only 10% came from aristocratic or gentry families. 1880 general election. Most expensive yet. Bribery still took place, and people could now be bribed from both sides. Trebled size, 1918 representation of the People Act. Positives. Trebled size of the electorate. Electorate now at 21 million. Enfranchised 5 million men and 8 million women. Male suffrage fully achieved. Boosted Labour Party with more working class votes and working class MPs. Nancy Astor, first female MP elected. Britain significantly more democratic. Women under 30. Negatives are that women under 30 couldn't vote and the idea of respectability persisted. 1883 Corrupt and Legal Practices Act. Positives are that this successfully cut the cost of electioneering, wiped out electoral corruption in one stroke. Parties relied on volunteers rather than paid election workers. Massive decline in aristocracy, and prescribed penalties for corrupt practices. 1911 Act. Positives. Major decline of aristocracy. Enabled more working class people to become MPs. Ensured primary of commons over the lords. However, the peers still held a significant role in the formation of legislation, as they could still delay it. 1884 to 85 Act. Positives. Electorate rose 54%. 2 out of 3 men could vote. 2.5 million new voters, just under 5 million total. Majority of electorate now working class. More single-member constituencies, which meant a more equal size in population. New suburban districts created, sped up the decline in political power and influence of the landowning aristocracy. More working class voters led to emergence of Labour Party. Party organisation and national campaigns became more important. However, suffrage still excluded 40% of adult males. Many failed to get their names on electoral registers. Rural areas still overrepresented. MPs still unpaid, which deterred the working class men from standing in elections.